Here are the deadliest warriors from every time period in human history. Disclaimer: countless people were harmed, killed, punished, and tortured in the making of this video, which is sponsored by War Thunder, by the way. A deadly snake wraps itself around the face of a sleeping warrior. His wife sees not a threat, but an omen. Just as the snake has wrapped itself around her lover's face, a great power would soon envelop him, leading either to his glory or his destruction. She could not say which. For now, however, he was only a slave, a man who had once served in the Roman army before he was imprisoned for desertion. His name was Spartacus. His fighting skills caught the eye of Batiatus, the owner of a training camp for gladiators. Life in the camp was hell. Spartacus and the other slaves were beaten, bound, and punished harshly as they were trained to fight to the death for the entertainment of an audience. That is until 73 BCE, when Spartacus and over 70 other slaves made their move. They stole knives and utensils from the kitchens and used them to kill the guards who stood between them and their freedom. On their way out, they found a cart full of gladiator weapons and armed themselves properly. Spartacus knew that the top Roman officials would not look kindly on their escape. Mere slaves causing such a commotion could be extremely embarrassing for an empire as powerful as Rome, and if the slaves were caught, they would surely be tortured and executed. So they went to hide on the slopes of Mount Vesuvius. On the way, they recruited other slaves, deserting soldiers, and starving peasants to join their small army, and chose Spartacus to be their leader. Rome was too busy fighting other wars in the Mediterranean to worry much about some unruly escaped slaves, and so they sent a small army to block off the only path up Mount Vesuvius, so that no supplies could reach the slaves and they would starve. However, the gladiators climbed down the far side of the mountain using rope ladders made from the forest vines, and easily defeated the army at the base in a surprise attack. Rome realized they had underestimated Spartacus, and not for the last time. Most of the free men in Spartacus's army were untrained, but with Spartacus's clever strategies, they were transformed into an effective military force, raiding the Roman countryside and defeating every army that the empire sent to stop them. At this point, Spartacus wanted to lead his band of slaves and peasants, which numbered in the tens of thousands by now, over the Alps and to freedom beyond the clutches of the Roman Empire forever. However, his soldiers were feeling confident. No one had managed to defeat them so far, so what was stopping them from marching on Rome itself and taking the city? Meanwhile, in Rome, the senators were asking each other, what's stopping Spartacus from marching on Rome itself and taking the city? In walks Marcus Licinius Crassus, the richest man in the Roman Empire. Nowadays, his net worth would be roughly $20 billion, and he wanted to claim all of the glory for defeating the largest slave uprising in the history of the ancient world. Crassus used his wealth to pay for equipment and training for new troops, and set out to corner Spartacus on the toe of Italy, where he was busy trying and failing to cross the sea to Sicily to regroup. The pirates he had hired to help had betrayed him and sailed away as soon as they were paid, as pirates do. Cornered with nowhere left to run, Spartacus made one last stand, a final battle for all the marbles against Crassus. Legends tell that Spartacus cut his way through hundreds of enemy soldiers as he tried to reach Crassus himself and kill him, but he was stopped when 2 dead centurions fell on him. He was killed fighting foes from all sides, and his body was never recovered. The Spartan rebellion was finally vanquished. Tens of thousands died in the battle, and thousands more of Spartacus's men who survived were crucified along the Appian Way in a horrifying display of Roman authority and cruelty. While he was defeated in the end, the memory of the great warrior Spartacus is still alive today as the ultimate symbol of freedom and fighting against impossibly oppressive odds, a sentiment more important than ever in today's world. An army of freed slaves fighting a billionaire? Sound familiar? This is Tlahuicol, a deadly warrior living in what is now central Mexico. At the age of 19, he led his tribe into battle against the Aztec Empire. Yes, that Aztec Empire. Now, this was no ordinary historic battle. If the tribe were defeated by the Aztecs, all of their soldiers would be violently sacrificed. Their bodies would be placed on a cold stone atop a mighty temple, and a team of 5 priests would cut open their abdomens and rip out their still beating hearts as offerings for the god Huitzilopochtli. Wielding an enormous wooden club that a regular soldier couldn't even lift from the ground, Tlawicol was like a one-man army on the battlefield. Bones shattered like glass and blood fell like rain wherever he moved as he smashed his way through his opponents. However, Tlawicol was eventually overpowered by superior numbers, taken prisoner, and bound in chains to be brought before Emperor Moctezuma for judgment. The Emperor was so impressed by Tlawicol's strength that, instead of sacrificing him, he offered Tlawicol his freedom. But Tlawicol refused, saying that it would be dishonorable for him to return to his country after being fairly conquered. Thus, he insisted on dying nobly in sacrifice. But the Emperor really didn't want Tlawicol's incredible strength to go to waste, and offered him the command of an army going up against a tribe invading his frontiers. Tlawicol accepted, hoping to die a glorious death on the battlefield. Tlawicol and his army defeated the invading tribe in a horrifying display of raw strength and true warrior skill. None could stand against him, and he and his army shattered their opponents, though without achieving Tlawicol's glorious demise. No! He marched back to the Emperor and demanded that Moctezuma sacrifice him. Out of respect for Tlawicol's physical strength and his unbreakable strength of character, Moctezuma agreed. Tlawicol was tied to a stone pillar in an arena similar to those used by Roman gladiators. As an audience of nobles looked on, he was forced to fight 8 famous warriors one after the other, still tied to his stone, with nothing but his wooden club to defend himself. To everyone's disbelief, Tlawicol defeated all of the warriors sent at him, until the 9th managed to stun him with a powerful blow to the head. With the great warrior fallen, it was finally time to sacrifice his heart to the gods. Now, if you don't want to be sacrificed to some bloodthirsty gods, you should definitely hit that subscribe button. Yeah, pretty much all of the warriors in this video are so deadly that you have literally no chance of defeating them in a fair fight. So let's get you some upgrades. Here, you want an armored car? How about a tank? Or a warplane? Unfortunately, you don't know how to use any of these vehicles, so you'd probably still get obliterated. Let's get you some training with War Thunder, the sponsor of today's video. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever created by humans, and it's also, somehow, completely free to play on PC, consoles, and mobile devices, which is just absolutely insane, as this game has over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships to fight with, each modeled with insane attention to detail. I've tried 3D modeling before, and that stuff is hard, so I'd like to give a huge shout out to the artists who worked on this game. Yeah, I see you guys. Good job. War Thunder has 3 distinct game modes, each one more realistic than the last. Arcade mode is fast-paced and simplified, Simulator is the ultimate challenge, and Realistic mode strikes a perfect balance between them, in my opinion. The damage hitboxes in this game are also impressively detailed, allowing you to deal and take damage to individual components of your vehicle as you fight. If you want to practice some intense vehicle combat, again, for free, War Thunder is the perfect place to do it. With an active community of over 95 million players, you'll never be lacking in opponents to fight. This thing is awesome, and there's literally no better game for fans of realistic historical warfare. And if you watch this channel, chances are that's you. New or returning players that haven't played for 6 months on PC and consoles can use the links in the pinned comment or description and obtain a massive bonus pack containing premium vehicles, the exclusive Eagle of Valor vehicle decorator, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of premium. This offer is available only for a limited time, so sign up right now, or else. In 1584, in the Japanese town of Miyamoto, a woman died in childbirth to bring her son into the world, a baby boy named Benosuke. His abusive father, Munisai, kicked him out of the house to face the world entirely on his own at the age of 6 years old, and he went to live with his uncle, a peaceful Buddhist monk who taught him the ways of spiritual living. When he was 12 years old, Benosuke fought a duel with a master swordsman, who he disarmed and beat to death with nothing but a wooden stick. At the age of 16, he killed another master in pretty much the exact same way. Benosuke realized that his life could never be the peaceful, spiritual one that his monkly uncle wished for him, and so, once again, he left home to face the world alone, this time under a new name, Miyamoto Musashi, the deadliest samurai to ever live. Throughout his life, he fought countless duels to the death and was never once defeated. If you want to fight this legendary warrior and have any chance of surviving, you'll need to know how he thinks and what you can expect from him. As Sun Tzu once said, know thy enemy. Let's get you up to speed on some of Miyamoto's unique fighting strategies. Musashi would arrive extremely late to his duels to make his opponents angry at his disrespect. Remember, this is ancient Japan, so respect and honor were a huge deal to them. Once his opponents were fuming with rage, Musashi would finally show up, completely calm, and defeat them with his superior precision and cool-headedness. Ambush. The thing about duels is they usually happen at a time and place that both fighters have mutually agreed upon after the challenge is given. Not so with Miyamoto Musashi. As far as he was concerned, the duel began as soon as one party challenged the other, and he would often ambush his enemies, showing up out of nowhere and cutting his opponents down before they could even react. Training. Miyamoto Musashi has trained with and beaten opponents specializing in all kinds of weapons, including spears, longswords, and the kusarigama, which is like a sickle with a chain on the end, and he has often fought and won against multiple opponents at the same time. This is the Winter War, Stalin's invasion of Finland in 1939. Snow crunches underneath the feet of a small troop of Russian soldiers traveling across the frozen landscape. Suddenly, a gunshot rings out. The soldiers see no enemies, but one of them drops dead. It's as if he's been killed by a ghost of the winter. The soldiers panic and run for cover, trying to locate their attacker. Another shot rings out, and another man falls. Somewhere in the distance, hidden in the frozen foliage, a man lies patiently waiting in a pure white coat, completely invisible against the freshly fallen snow, his finger on the trigger of his M2830 rifle, just waiting for another man to enter his sights. This is Simo Häyhä, and the Russian soldiers were so scared of him that he was nicknamed the White Death. Simo Häyhä was born in 1905, and for most of his life, he was a farmer who enjoyed hunting and shooting as a hobby. The Winter War broke out between Simo's country of Finland and the Soviet Union when he was 33 years old. He fought for the Finnish army and was an extremely valuable soldier because of his incredible long-distance shooting ability, a skill he had learned as a child hunting small birds with his father. In fact, the gun he used during the war was the same one he learned to shoot with all those years ago. It was a simple weapon, and didn't even have telescopic sights, but this was no problem for the White Death. The Winter War lasted only 105 days, yet in that time, Simo Häyhä got over 500 confirmed enemy kills, the highest number of any sniper in any major war in history. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check it out for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile, and use my links in the pinned comment or video description to register. As always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Alex, and I am really smart. Until next time, farewell!